Now that everybody's sitting down, the first thing I'm going to do is ask you all to stand, and we'll sing again. I hate to say it, but I guess I'm a little partial to this, much more partial than I am to the Star Spangled Banner. But I'll leave the politics to the politicians. And Harry, if I can have you come up and we'll say grace.
Let's bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we come here before you tonight to thank you. Thank you that we can meet, that we can share our thoughts, be with those who are not able to share their thoughts or meet in person. Think of people who are in war. Lord, be with those people. Bless the hands who prepared our meal. Bless the hands who grew our meal. May it nourish our bodies and strengthen our soul. We ask all this not because we deserve it, but of forgiveness from our sins. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Eric. At this time, we will we'll ask the ladies to bring dinner out, and we'll proceed and proceed to the back, and we'll have our dinner here. Thank you.
Everyone, I'm sure you agree that we had a wonderful meal, and I want to officially thank the men and women of the Lambton, Wyoming Fair Board. They're famous for their roast beef dinners and their homemade pies. That's why we keep coming back every year. So thank you so much for hosting us today.
Yes, thank you very much. It was absolutely fabulous. Okay, well, great. Welcome, everybody. I will officially call our meeting to order. And the first thing I'd like to do is do some introductions. We've got a number of special guests with us tonight. Bob Bailey, if I can ask you to come up.
Sure.
We'll start with you.
Always.
Always?
I'd rather be first than last. But anyway, thanks, Brian. I really appreciate the invitation to be here with the Federation and chance to make old acquaintances again. I'm not going to speak about anything political because for the next 28 or 30 days you're going to hear nothing but that. I know that. You'll have more than your fill. I think I understood the Federation meeting. You have an all candidates meeting before the month's over. So anyway, with that, thanks again for the invitation. Great to be here. Look forward to seeing you down the road somewhere in Lambton or I'll stay in Lambton. I'm going to stay in Lambton, maybe Sarnia. But anyway, with that, Brian, thanks a lot. Oh, I should say, I know that if the minister was here, Rob Flack, you want to say hello. I spoke to him a couple of days ago and said I was coming here. He wanted me to give his best greetings to all of you here and keep pulling for agriculture. All right.
Thanks very much. No question, Minister Flack is a wonderful friend of agriculture. I appreciate all he does for us. Steve, if I could ask you to come up, please.
Yeah, saying thanks for the invite here tonight. And just for the record, we had this book long before we knew there was an election. It's been amazing working with Uncle Bob, as we all call him. Took me under his wing, been on the job 7 months. I truly understand the importance of agriculture to our economy here in the province. And all the ridings all the way up through Southwest Ontario. You know, we are the breadbasket of Ontario. Been an honor working with Kevin as well. He's welcomed me right into the community. Sharing Lambton with Bob has been amazing. You know, meeting all the different mayors, meeting all the different folks down here, going and visiting farms and that sort of thing. And personally, I'm not a farmer, but I go to every agriculture meeting just to learn about everything I can. I want to be on top, just understanding how important it is to our economy. Thank you for the invite here today. Everybody have a good night.
Thanks very much, Steve. You know, I'd have to maybe question if you're a farmer. I saw that video with you driving the combine. I think you did an excellent job. I you know, there's a career after politics for you, it looks like.
Who knew, right?
Warden Marriott, Kevin, would you like to come up, please?
Thank you, Brian. It is good to be here among fellow farmers. I'd have to say I'm probably the only politician that pays Federation fees, so.
We appreciate that.
I just want to bring greetings on behalf of Lambton County Council, and agriculture is, to me, number one in Lambton. I don't care about industry in Sarnia. I think agriculture is darn close to number one. So it does mean a lot to us at Lambton County Council, and the only thing I would say is we need more farmers on council. So once I'm done, I don't think there will be a farmer left on Lambton County Council. So you should spread that word because we've got to keep farmers on council. Anyway, it's good to be here again, and thanks for the invitation.
Thanks very much, Kevin. I think, I don't know about Lambton County, but certainly across the province, 2.5%, 3% of us, it's certainly hard to keep that representation up. I see Brad Booster here, Mayor. Maybe ask him to have a couple words. Mayor Petrolia, I should say.
Thank you, Brian. First of all, I want to thank you for the invitation to be here. Yes, the meal was great. And I want to bring greetings on behalf of the town of Petrolia, the council and staff. And it's a pleasure to be here. I want to wish the Federation all the very best and have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next one I can see is Dave Ferguson.
Thank you, Brian. I have been in the Federation for quite a while myself. And Kevin, you're not moving from the county council. I do pay Federation fees too. Sell me. Anyway, glad to see everybody here. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dave. Trying to look and see who I'm missing. I know there's a couple councilors here. I see Dave Marsh. I know I saw Brad Langstaff earlier. Why can't I think of her name? But one of our fellow St. Clair Township councilors are here as well. I think that is all for that piece. So then we will carry forward here. And Mike, if I could ask you to come up and introduce our guest speaker. Oh, you're right. Apologize. I'm supposed to do financials first. So if I can ask you to come up, please. I'm glad somebody's trying to keep me on track.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rachel Gertz from Mellow LFA Strathroy office. I'm a partner in the Strathroy office. I've been doing working on the books here for you guys for about 4 or 5 years. Sorry about that. Thank you. So I'll keep it short and sweet. We don't want to get too much into the weeds here. But the year was we passed with flying colors. There was no issues really noted. In the year, there was a small deficit of approximately between $3,000 and $4,000. Last year, you had a profit of about $7,500, and the main difference between that was there were significantly more donations that occurred in the period. The only other item I wanted to point out on the financial statements that were provided that was changed on the final version was the restricted asset item, which was for the scholarships. Most of those were reversed on the final version. The only one that was actually outstanding at the end of the year was the Women's Institute Scholarship at an amount of $4,500. Okay? And that's on the last page, on page 6, I believe. One page back. Yes. Okay. Yes. So the assets held in trust, all of the scholarships were reversed aside from the Women's Institute Scholarship. Okay. Other than that, there was no real issues noted when we reviewed the financial statements. But as always, if you have any questions, I'm more than available to assist. Okay.
I just want to make a couple comments. We are certainly going forward and giving out scholarships. I think the number is 9 or 10 that we're going to give out. We needed to make that distinction on our financial statements to understand that the endowments that started those scholarships have now been completely paid out. The Federation itself is paying those scholarships today. That's what the difference, I guess, is simply making the money look that we have completed the endowments. We're now going forward and paying scholarships directly from our funds directly. Is there any questions about financial statements? Carrie, did you want to go through budget now like that?
Oh, yeah. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I guess, can I have a motion to receive the financial statements, please? Carrie and Dave Ferguson? Thank you very much.
Motion to approve, actually.
All in
Motion to
favor?
approve.
Just to show up, hands. Thank you.
Reappointment.
Carrie, so do you want to go through the
Motion
budget?
to reappoint.
Pardon?
Motion to reappoint. Reappoint. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I might do that first. Okay. Can I get a motion to appoint Mello? Can I get a motion from Munch Mello for our auditors for the year 2025? George? Can I get a seconder, please?
Yeah.
And Fraser? All in favor? Any opposed? That's good. Thank you.
On the printouts, we include our internal budget, which is a lot longer than this one. This one matches the financial statements. So I thought I threw it up on the screen. You can see all the numbers on the yellow on the right-hand side. They're basically numbers that are different from last year's budget. You can compare that with the financial statement or the statement of activities. The statement of revenues and expenditures on page 3. So if there's any questions, any concerns, we've got a proposed budget coming up this year of about 9,800, and deficit for projected. We increased our budget donations. We're going to be making a concerted effort to increase our donations, as well as we got a couple elections to go through, so we increased the amount for that. And I'm trying to think what else I've written down here. Yeah, and then to increase the amount for other income as well, because we're getting interest income going up. So is there any other questions? Looking for a motion to approve, if there's no questions, for our budget for 2025. Well, it's halfway through the year, because we started in September, or October, I should say. Any motions?
Mike does.
Mike Bellin?
Yes. Can I get, we get a seconder for?
Have to excuse the.
Yes,
the,
we've got a little
feedback
bit
on
of
the
a
mic.
sound system issue.
It's not me. So all in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Mike, if you want to.
All right, good evening, folks. My name is Mike Bellin, director here with the LFA. Now that we got some business taken care of there, we kind of got out of line there on the agenda. However, I would like to welcome Ken Bulgin and Will Nywening. Sorry, I've been practicing that and I still couldn't get it right. Anyways, they're here with the Lambton County planners, the municipality of Lambton Shores, and they're going to give us a presentation here on planning.
Provincial planning statement.
The provincial policy statement. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody. My name is Will Nywening. And thank you for that introduction, and Bulgin. So as was noted, we're planners at Lambton County. And yes, we are signed up in Lambton Shores. Today we're wearing our Lambton County hats. So thanks for the invitation tonight. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. Ken currently is in charge of the County of Lambton Agriculture Advisory Committee. A few years, we've resurrected that recently. It was created a few years in the past, and at that time I looked after it. So a lot of familiar faces here from those times. So tonight we've been asked to speak about the provincial planning statement, and planning is a real mystery to a lot of us and not the most exciting thing in the world. But the province has issued a new provincial planning statement as of 2024, and we just want to highlight in a broader sense what that thing is all about, and then in a more specific sense, things that we think are more interesting or more interest to you for the agricultural community. A little bit, or eat it?
That's
Okay.
better. Thank you.
All right, so we control that from here. So Ken and I are going to start with some of the more boring stuff and get into the more specific stuff that you're probably interested in. We're just going to tag team here a little bit.
All right, so our first slide here, just to give you a little overview of the policy framework for planning. So the planning is part of a provincial responsibility. So we have the Planning Act, which is our piece of legislation, which really sets the ground rules for how and who can do what for land use policy in the province. Out of that Planning Act, it requires that a policy statement be created. So we've had a number of policy statements over the past few years, for the past couple decades, and most recently we have a planning document that encompasses policy. Underneath that, there are provincial plans. There's nothing here in Lambton that we have to worry about in terms of provincial plans. So really the next step of policy is the county official plan, which really looks at the area. It needs to conform to what policy is in the provincial policy statement. And is sort of overarching for the entire county. Drilling down a little further, all of our 11 municipalities have local official plans, and they're really specific to the area. And out of all that policy, which is consistent with this policy statement that we're talking about tonight, comes our zoning bylaw, which takes those policy and really creates the groundwork for what happens on the ground in terms of creating residential zones, commercial zones, agricultural zones, permitted uses that can occur in each of those zones, and governing how structures are able to be built, constructed on those properties.
Yeah, so when you come in for a building permit and they tell you you can or you can't build that, or where you can and can't build it, that's the zoning bylaw. Why does the zoning bylaw read the way it is? Because the policy documents spell out what should be allowed. So the policy documents have to conform with each other, and the provincial policy sets the tone for what has to come down at lower levels. So that policy document was amended and came into effect October 20, 2024. And any planning decision that gets made, so we're talking severances or minor variances or zoning amendments, official plans, anything that happens now has to conform with this new provincial plan. Any recommendation that we make as staff has to conform with that provincial plan. So in general, the provincial plan, it's not massive policy changes, but the previous provincial plans have become a patchwork of policy, and every government that came in, they kind of, their particular mandate, they amended everything, and it's become a bit of a mess. And so they just took a lot of the existing policies and reorganized it to make it more sense, to get rid of some redundancy. But it does emphasize a number of things of provincial priorities that we'll talk about here.
So as you'll notice at the top there, we have provincial planning statement, not policy statement. So previous to this current rendition of the statement, they've been titled policy. The planning twist to it, I guess if you call it, it's really the fact that the government wants it to be recognized not just for policy, but a framework that's integrating policy with the government's main interest at the moment, which is housing. So the policy that we have in the document here, a lot of them have been changed to really facilitate the government's interest in creating housing in the province. And a goal of 1.5 million houses over the next 5 or 6 years until 2031. So what they're really looking to do is they're wanting to create a mix of housing. They're wanting to increase intensification for housing, and they're looking to remove barriers so that this can be happen. So that's in large part why this new provincial planning statement has been released, so that some of those policies can be updated to remove those, make things easier to allow that housing to happen. So what you'll see is that the government's increasing density targets within communities, especially fast-growing communities. That's not so much Lambton. They're broadening permissions for residential intensification. You're seeing accessory residential units being permitted in urban areas, and even, as we'll speak to later, in agricultural communities. And we're also making the ability to change settlement boundaries, or we're seeing the government make settlement boundary changes, expansions easier. It used to be through a comprehensive review, and now that's been removed, and it can happen anytime. I'll just answer your question in a sec. Actually, I'll answer that now.
So, concerning severance, you're doing all these wonderful things for everybody that are in Lambton County, but there's a lot of people in this room that would like severances off their own farms for their own family, and it's kind of a constant roadblock. So, at what level is that? Is that a provincial guideline? Keep hearing conflicting claim as to who's going to do. But
Do you want to hold that question just for a couple more slides, because you will be able to speak to that in just a moment.
So now, those previous slides are more just to say the bigger context of what the province is doing with that document. And the document's not specifically focused on, it's not directed at agriculture, but it does have some things that are of interest to the agricultural community. Ken mentioned settlement boundary expansions. So the province is very interested in making it easier to get more housing built, so get more land designated so that more housing can be built. And so in the past, you had to complete what was called comprehensive review, and that was a very onerous process, frankly, that you had to go through. You could only go through it when you did a major official plan review. And you had to look at things like population projections and land use need projections, and justifying that you needed more housing. And then at the county level, that had to be done, and then the county had to decide where within the county that had to go. So if you were on the edge of town and you wanted to add 5 lots onto the edge of the town and needed to change the settlement boundary to do that, you couldn't do that without first going all the way to the top and basically reassessing the entire county from bottom down. So they've gotten rid of that requirement. And so it's still lists, all the things that you say you had to do, it still lists those as things that you need to take into consideration. So it's not like they've entirely thrown out all the rules, but they put more in the municipality's power to decide how closely they want to look at different things and to decide whether or not to allow those boundaries to expand. And that still has to happen at a county level. There has to be a county official plan amendment before the local municipality can change the boundary. But the point is the province has removed some of the protections that make it harder to convert agricultural land and redesignate for settlement use. In the past, they used to have a rule that said absolutely you cannot ever redesignate a special crop area. So in Lambton County, that would be the Bedford Marsh and Blackwell Marsh, which somehow got designated anyways in the past portions of it. They used to have a policy that says absolutely you cannot develop into special crop areas. Now it's just something that you must consider before you decide whether or not to redesignate land. So there is also now a requirement in the provincial planning statement to do an agricultural impact assessment for in certain situations, like when you're taking land out. They're working on currently a guidance document that would spell out exactly what that is, because that is currently not defined what an agricultural impact assessment means.
So Will mentioned earlier that there are a few things that will impact or could impact agriculture for Lambton County farmers. The first one on our list here, Will just spoke about. It will be easier or the potential for agricultural lands to be taken for expansion and settlement boundary. You can see that if you compare the two plans, the wording changes. Where in previous plans, it needed to be demonstrated that there were no other alternatives to using farmland. Now it's, we must consider. A little bit of change in word, but it means that those lands are not off limits anymore. It's not as difficult to take those lands if needed. Our second line here, urban versus near urban agriculture, and that comes from an addition to the planning statement really about local foods, local food production. Urban agriculture is defined in the planning statement, meaning agriculture in settlement boundaries, within the settlement boundaries. Further in the definition, it states that it would be supportive of vertical ag facilities, greenhouses, rooftop gardens for educational or commercial purposes. So what does this mean for Lambton? It means there could be opportunities for alternative farming in amongst urban areas. It could mean young farmers have an opportunity to get into farming where they might not otherwise have that opportunity. And for your knowledge, many of you may know, but the OFA did support this idea of the province. You can see a line crossing through, a strike through here. So in an earlier draft of the 2024 planning statement, they had included an item that allowed 3 residential units to be severed off of farm property. There was a lot of resistance for this item from the farming community, from the OFA. And so in the next iteration of the 2024 planning statement, this was removed. A lot of some of the criticisms were that it could create more interaction between farmers and non-farmers. Could drive up the price of land as speculators came and grabbed properties for the purpose of lot creation. So the government saw they listened to the people and they changed that, removed it from the statement. The next two we're going to talk about in more detail on the next 2 slides because these will have the most impact for Lambton County farmers. One being additional residential units, and the second one being limits on surplus farm dwelling sizes. I'll hand it over to Will to speak to the first one.
So these are our last 2 slides, and they're going to be very busy because we basically just quoted exactly what the provincial planning statement says. So, as Ken noted, the province axed its plan to allow up to 3 residential severances per farm as of right, but they did include the right to add dwelling units, secondary dwelling units, onto a farm. So, you're allowed to have up to 2 additional dwellings on a farm property. One of them may be in a detached building. The other one may be attached to or within the house, or an apartment within the house, or both of them can be an apartment within the house. Sorry, I'm just going to get close right now. I should read this. So one of the conditions is that they have to be secondary to the dwelling. So presumably that means like you're not building another 5,000 square foot house or adding a 5,000 square foot house as an additional dwelling unit. The other is that it has to be located near the principal dwelling if it's not already attached to it. So you're not going to be having one house on each corner of the farm. They're all going to have to be clustered together. So that's what is allowed as of right in the provincial planning statement. Now that also has to be worked into the local zoning bylaws. So some municipalities already have put in their zoning bylaws that as of right you can come in and get a building permit for that second unit. Generally within Lambton County, anywhere where a single detached dwelling is permitted, you can construct an apartment within that single detached dwelling, whether that's a residential zone or an agricultural zone, anywhere a single detached dwelling is permitted. Some of our municipalities do already allow a second dwelling on a farm property, and Escalon, for instance, permits that. Those zoning bylaws will spell out the circumstances under which that's permitted in terms of things like what's the maximum floor area allowed for that house, how close can it be to the existing house, and there may be other provisions that have to be met that municipality has decided are appropriate. Other municipalities do not have that in their zoning bylaw yet, but because it's in the provincial planning statement now, if you go to the municipality and request a zoning change, then the municipality should be granting that zoning change, provided it meets the criteria that's spelled out here, limited in scale and located in close proximity.
Did everyone get all that? So this will be what you're wanting to listen to here. So surplus farm dwelling consents. Many of you will have or know of someone who's severed a farm residence off of their farm. This has been something that's been in the provincial policy statement since at least 2005. But what it says, or actually, there is one change this year, and in last year's policies, the 2024 planning statement. It now provides a limit for the number of farm dwelling severances that are permitted per farm operation, or per farm consolidation. So it says there's one new residential lot for farm consolidation, and a consolidation is the addition of more farms to the farming operation. And there's been two criteria that have always been associated with that residential surplus farm dwelling severance. And that is the new lot needs to be limited in size to accommodate servicing. And then the second one is that on the retained farmland, that it prohibits any kind of residential dwelling in the future. So in the provincial wording, it doesn't say farm severances are as of right. It uses the word may. You may be able to sever a surplus farm dwelling severance. What that does is it gives municipalities the option to be more restrictive. So, as you may have seen, some municipalities don't allow farm severances. And then there are other municipalities that do, but they also have other restrictions on a farm severance. Some may say the dwelling needs to be over 15 years of age, or 20 years, or another number. Or the retained farm land has to be of a certain size to make that farming parcel viable. Or if a new house is built on another farm, of that farming operation, then you're not allowed to sever existing farms, houses on the property. So it's not as of right. Now going back to the new wording, with the current planning statement, it says one. And we in our planning department, we've been struggling with this one, as I think many across the province have. We're unsure whether the one means one over the entire life of the farm operation, or if it's one per consolidation, so one per farm addition to the farm operation. So we're still waiting for clarification from the ministry on that. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. Oh, something, I don't think that's it. Did you have anything else on that one? Did you want to ask that question now?
Yes, what situation I'm in, I get 3 farms and 3 sons, and one looked at building, couldn't get severance, and then sell the farm, tried to get the market back on the farm and build a home too on it. So we have number 3 wants a building lot on another different farm to build a house, but he can't afford the farm and build a home too. So what we ever wanted was a separate building lot for our own family to build on our own farm. It still doesn't cover it on the end of the
Yeah, so in the actual policy, if you look at the planning statement, it specifically says that in primary agricultural areas, you can't sever a new residential lot.
So is there nothing in there saying that if you keep it in your own family, he's going to end up with a farm? You can't afford both. You can't afford to give it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just one of those restrictions on farmland to protect farmland.
Yeah, when you sell it for your own kid, he's going to end up with a farm. Who's it protecting?
Well, are you saying create a new lot or sell the entire farm?
Son can't afford to buy the farm.
Yeah.
He can afford to build a house.
Yeah.
But to end up with that farm eventually anyway.
Yeah.
So it's still, I thought they had some provisions that you could do it within your own family.
There used to be like a.
Yeah, so when I started at the county, we were working with 1997 provincial policy statement, and that policy statement allowed surplus farm dwelling severances, and their definition was a little bit broader than it is now. It also allowed infilling lots, so if there's 2 existing residential lots, you could sever off the land in between and make another lot. And it allowed retirement lots or lots for family. That was 1997 provincial policy statement. In the 1998 county official plan, the county said we're not going to allow retirement lots or farm health lots or family lots. And I wasn't there at the time. I can't fully explain to you what the reasoning was at that time. In 2005, we got a new provincial policy statement at that time. And at that time, the province decided to cut it down to just surplus farm dwelling severances. And that, their definition was a farm residence that's rendered surplus as a result of farm consolidation, meaning the acquisition of additional farm parcels to be operated as one operation. So in 2005, that's when the province cut it down to say the only situation where you can create a new residential lot is to sever off an existing house that's become surplus. And at that point, the province said family lots or retirement lots are no longer permitted. but the county had already gotten rid of those since 1998. And yeah, there's a lot of different arguments one way and the other, and I know we've heard a lot of different perspectives on what should and shouldn't be allowed in terms of residential severances. I know we had a lot of discussions at the advisory committee over the years ago, things like that. But at the end of the day, the province decided that that was going to be the only type of severance that's permitted in
So
2005.
for clarity, we're blaming the province.
It's easy.
We're looking for somebody to blame.
It's easy to blame the province on this.
Somebody's
Yeah. But also, so the province did look at saying that every farm could have 3 severances as of right, and they suggested that that was really to help exactly the type of thing you're talking about. But there was a letter that came out, a very strongly worded letter that came out from the OFA as a joint document on behalf of 6 different, I forget which, but 6 of the farm organizations that said, we don't want this. And
but that's, you're not talking about the same thing, and I'm not blaming you, it sounds like you're not. It's a big difference between severing 1 lot for your own family and severing 3 as building lots to sell in the open market. The world of difference between the 2.
yes, but the OFA, the joint letter, the OFA and those other 6 general organizations said very strongly, we don't want to be creating, I think it said even 1. And the province backed off that pretty quickly. Anyways, I can very comfortably in this situation say I'm just the messenger.
So we can blame the OFA in the province.
That works for
What
me.
about the township? What about the township? We're all working together.
So, the words are always thrown around tremendously in the area of land use policy. What is the definition of prime farmland?
Prime agricultural land as defined by the provincial planning statement is class 1 to 3 lands and special crop areas, and that's prime agricultural lands. Prime agricultural areas are areas that are dominated or predominated by prime agricultural lands. So it includes pockets of class 4 through 7 lands.
So you're using the classification system based on the Canadian classification, federal system, not the weaker provincial classification, is what I take from my answer. So following that up, there's still a term out there called marginal land. And the only marginal land I know of, I just walked through the other night, it's called Young and Dundas in Toronto. I can't plant anything in there unless I really have the pressure on the hydraulics. So this document has really not resolved much of anything. I'm not blaming you guys, I'm using you as the messenger. Because Brooke Elliston, that municipality, does not make the final planning decisions. Everything we do, we rubber stamp it after you get done telling us what we've got to do. And right now, we're not allowed to sever a good household off a farm that is not needed, that's surplus to the operation, if that farm is now going to be under 100 acres. Who decided 100 acres is going to pay the bills? In the grain oil seeds, 100 acres does not even come close to covering a portion of the input. So are you going to get rid of that clause in your operation?
So the provincial planning statement doesn't directly address that in terms of a number. What it says is that when you create new farm parcels, they have to be of a size that supports a full range of farming activities. And it's recognized that an individual farmer does not, in today's world, usually allow you to operate a viable farm operation just with 100 acres. Usually you need a combination of acres, and that could potentially include parcels that are less than 100 acres. So the individual municipalities or sorry, at the county level, we're left with establishing what is the minimum farm lot size. So there was some work done when the county OP was reviewed last time to adopt a smaller farm lot size or even just leave it up entirely to the municipalities. The province stepped in at that point and said that in a community like Lambton County, you need to have a 100-acre minimum farm lot size. Now, when we're talking about severing off an individual house from 100 acres where you're not creating a new parcel, you're just reducing an existing parcel by a number of acres, we have had some discussions as a department about whether there's flexibility on that. So you can follow up with us on that separately. Yeah.
Because the reality is, being a farmer and on municipal council is a balancing act. Municipal councils across the board are feeling the tension of reduced income. And the only way to get it is growth in residential units. At the same time, we want to preserve farmland. I don't know how those two mix. Thank you.
Here, guys, I'll shield you from anything else here. No, it's a very important topic, and going forward, as anything that involves the government, it's gray at best, and you got to read between the lines if you can. So we can't shoot the messenger. We're happy and thankful that you came and enlightened us with some of the information here. We usually give a speaker's gift to our guest speakers, but they have chosen to donate to them to 4-H and $300. So we greatly appreciate that. So, thanks again, fellas. Let's be in the back room if we get any more questions.
Thanks very much, man. And Ken and Will, appreciate your information. If I can ask, next on the agenda, if I can ask Carrie, Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks, Brian, and thanks everybody for inviting us and having us here. I think, our very quick presentation is very timely after that last one, because we're about to talk about advocacy and government affairs. So again, thank you for having us here. I'm Carrie McEachran. I'm the new CEO of Sarnia-Lambton Chamber of Commerce for 2 years. I'm going to call myself new for a very long time. And we have Chantel Sanderson here, who is our new membership coordinator, who's joining us. And we were saying that this is the first time in weeks that we've been out after dark. So this is very exciting, and it's really good company. So thanks so much for having us. So we're not going to take up much of your time. I know there's some really important business to be done tonight after this. But I want to just give a brief update as to what's happening at the Chamber these days. Other than tariff talks and trade talks that are happening everywhere, we've got some really active committees that are quite engaged. We've got some members here actually, and LFA is very well represented at the Chamber with Gary Martin. I'm sure everybody is aware that your organization has a standing spot on our board. And Gary's been great to fill that on behalf of LFA. So he brings often many of the pain points that you're all feeling and the challenges to the board of directors. He also sits in all of our committees, minus women in business. We had to say no to that one. And young professionals. So he just really dismissed that one. So we really appreciate having Gary involved. We also had here tonight, which was not set up in advance, but Mark Lumley is a past chair of the board of directors of the chamber, but he's our chair of the transportation committee, which Shauna Carr from SLEP and Jason Cole from the County of Lambton, who's here tonight, are also on that committee, as well as Gary. And really an engaged committee. Right now our priorities are how to get people and businesses in and out of Lambton County, which isn't always an easy feat to do. So there's lots of advocating around the passenger rail. You know, we keep advocating. We're not getting very far, but you know, we're that voice that they're getting sick of hearing. Also, we're chatting about accessibility for people that need accessible transportation, and transportation from in and out of Sarnia from rural Lambton County. So that's another thing that we talk a lot about, which is, you know, there's lots happening there. Did I miss anything, Mark?
Airport.
No? What's that?
Airport.
Oh, the airport, yes. We've done some talking about the airport. We're going to have a delegation at the next council meeting to discuss what the airport means to local businesses in the community. So we'll be hearing a little bit more of that. We also have a very active government affairs committee. So that's where challenges like some of the ones that were talked about tonight come to that government affairs committee. We have, again, Shauna's on that committee, Gary's on that committee. I don't think there's anybody else here tonight that is on that committee. But we have people from every industry and expertise sitting at that table. So if there's challenges, there's pain points you want to have us know about and help advocate for that, that's the place to do it. So lots happening there. Chantel runs our green committee, so all sustainable energy with Gary. Gary's a very busy man. So those are, you know, some active committees that we have happening. We're also, when I took on the role with the chamber 2 years ago, it was really important for me to get out of Sarnia and talk to rural businesses. And in that year, I was able to really gauge that the business needs in rural Lambton County are a heck of a lot different than in the city. So one of our new strategic pillars for the Chamber of Commerce, or 2024-2027 strategic plan, one of our main pillars is to get out of Sarnia, which if you're from Sarnia, we're still going to be supporting Sarnia, but get more out of Sarnia and really talk about what's happening in the county and what we can be doing to support you. So you'll be seeing a lot more of that in the near future. Also, it's really important for us to bring our government officials to the area. So, you know, we just had, I think some of you were able to attend last week. We had our annual MPP breakfast with Bob Bailey. We were able to get the Minister of Energy to attend as well, which was a really great thing to have him there. We've been trying for a long time. And in that, he was able to meet with everybody at the chamber. He was so great at that breakfast to speak to people, and then was able to get out in the community afterwards and have meetings with Amjanong and St. Clair Township. And so he was a busy man that day. So the chamber was able to get him here. We have coming up March the 13th, our annual State of Lambton Business Breakfast. It's something we created 2 years ago because, again, we know the world doesn't always center around the city. And so we wanted to hear about the business outside of the city. So we've invited all of our municipal leaders, our mayors of all the municipalities, and they've been great to come and talk about what's happening in their communities around the business sector. It was also important for us to stagger where we're hosting that every year. So this year we are St. Clair Township. We are going to be at the Bulgin Fairgrounds for breakfast on March 13th. So all are welcome to attend. You do not have to be a chamber member to attend these events. We really like being chamber members though. We are, and still hopefully, planning a Queen's Park trip this year. We did that a couple years ago, and Gary was able to attend, Mark was there as well, and it was really successful. We had 2 days at Queen's Park. We were able to sit down with the ministers that we requested to meet with, and we had some real wins. So we're working with Bob and making that happen again this year. So I'm not sure with the election how that's going to work, but we're still hoping that'll happen. Just also wanted to mention just a couple, for those people that aren't chamber members, a couple of the key benefits that I know that the agricultural community, our members that are part of that, tell us that this is the reason why they're members. The advocacy piece, we also have a really great chamber benefit plan. That's a nonprofit plan. You can have one person on that benefit plan. So if you are a sole person working, it could be yourself, your family, your staff, and one person up to thousands of people on that plan. So that's been a really popular benefit. As well as a new one is HR covered. So as a member, you have full access to over 40 online human resource templates, documents, policies. You just log in, put your logo on them, it's beautiful. I've been using it. 700 policies. I know it's been very helpful at the chamber. We tell our policies that way. It's great. And then networking opportunities. I know everybody knows about those. I'm talking to a room full of probably the busiest people in the world. So getting out, I know, can be a challenge, but there is always opportunities if you're looking for them. So, am I missing anything? No. So on that note, if there's questions, more than happy to take them. Brad.
Are you going to talk about next Friday and your anniversary?
Yes, thank you. I missed that. We are celebrating 120 years this year as an incorporated organization. We go well beyond that, back to the 1800s where 6 businessmen got together and decided they wanted to start something. But we have been incorporated for 120 years. We have some really strong history with the chamber, and when I sat down to look at it, I was really surprised at the amount of things that we were involved with through the years. Not me, I've been around that long, but there's been some really great stuff happening at the chamber over the past 120 plus years. So we have an open house next Friday to launch our big celebration year. Everyone is welcome. We're having it at the chamber office, which is downtown. We've been there for a long time, across from the police station on Christina Street. We've got 4 to 7, yes. So we have got some really great people coming to do some greetings, and we have dug up some great memorabilia that there might be people in the room that can maybe remember some of this stuff. So lots happening. And there'll be more celebrations throughout the year. Okay. And we have some information. So if anybody wants to learn more about the chamber, this is my little plug. We do have some information here tonight. We're more than happy to give that to you. But, anytime, please feel free, through Gary, who's great to bring things forward. And, you've got some great people here in the room that are chamber members that I'm sure would be more than willing to help you out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Shauna, would you like to talk, say a few words yourself?
Thanks, Brian. I'm from the Sarnia-Lambton Economic Partnership, and we are the Economic Development Office for the 11 municipalities within Lambton County, so all of you. I know when Marriott's no longer here, we do work with industry. He's in the back. We do work with industry, but we love working with agriculture as well. I am the child of beef farmers and dairy farmers, so I very much love working with the agriculturalists. I know many of you in the room do be smiling at me. So we love working with you. So don't forget that the economic partnership is there to support everything you're doing, expansion, retention, talent, all of those pieces. In that vein, though, you may have received an email through the Federation of Agriculture from a company called Elevating Energy that is looking to endeavor to take on a feasibility study with the grain farmers in this region to see if it makes sense for a biochar facility to happen in Lambton County and if there are farmers who are interested in partaking in that. So if you didn't receive that survey, please feel free to reach out to Brian or myself. We can get that to you. This is a Canadian company that is looking to work with local farmers to build this facility here, employ local folks, as well as infuse money into the agriculture sector. So I'd be happy to talk about that and connect you with the company. So if you didn't get it reach out to Brian or I and we can connect you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Shauna. Next, we will move into our committee reports. I guess my name's first up on the list. From the Environment Committee, typically the last couple of years, we've been looking at particular projects and so on, infrastructure projects that have been affecting Lambton County. Over the last couple of years, the primary ones have been a pipeline, and I'm thinking specifically about the natural gas pipeline came across, and then also the other one that's just going to start affecting us probably this year, next year, is Hydro One's transmission line. It's going to come, they're calling it the St. Clair line, that's coming from Chatham, just outside of Chatham, up to just south of Shauna. There's not a heck of a lot of movement on that, or new information, I should say. Certainly lots of movement. I guess from what I've understood with the hydro line, that is probably going to start to actually see construction next year in 2026. However, there is one comment I wanted to make about that hydro line is that, or I should say about hydro lines, is that there is potentially going to be another one. They're calling it the Longwoods line, which is coming from just outside of London. It's going to go all the way down into the Lakeshore Transmission Station, just outside of Windsor. That could potentially affect very kind of southern and southeastern corner of Lambton County, depending on the route that's chosen. I think we're going to hear in March of this year, March 25, what that route will be. But there is certainly going to be some movement there. The one comment I wanted to make is myself, I guess, I've got fairly deep into what's happening with hydro lines. There's another individual here, Bill Parks. I think he's back over there somewhere. I can't see him where he's at. But there he is, back in the back corner. If anybody's got questions about those, I know Bill brought some information sitting back on the table over there. If you got questions, please reach out. There's been a lot of background work done. Easier to go through these processes with someone who's got some experience. From PAC. I'll run through PAC and then we'll back up and we can talk about scholarships in a second. PAC, for those of you who don't know, is what's called the OFA's Policy Advisory Committee. If you were here last year, we had quite a bit of conversation around, I'll say what the revision of PAC would be. There was a proposal brought forward from the OFA last year, or 2 years ago now, that would change PAC into a whole different type of organization committee. That would still be some type of a committee that would give information, but it would not operate quite as that separate entity. A lot of conversation, a lot of discussion went on with it this year. Ultimately, at the OFA AGM in November in Toronto, that motion was withdrawn. And so our current PAC is going to remain the way it is. I'll say here in 2024, there was really only 2 meetings associated with PAC. One was a virtual that talked specifically about stormwater management. I realize my slide's a little bit small, but if you've got questions about stormwater management, myself or Crispin Colvin, he's back in the back corner here, would be happy to speak to someone. For those of you who don't understand, stormwater management is I'll call it a very new and upcoming topic brought in by a number of municipalities to look at ways that they can look at agricultural and well, I shouldn't say not to say agricultural, all commercial buildings that have larger roof dimensions, that how they impact the amount of the usage of stormwater or the control and the management of stormwater. And this is something that a number of larger municipalities in the province have started to look at and tax and have charges associated with it. again, I look at it as something that was really designed for commercial buildings. However, if we're honest with ourselves, a lot of the large agriculture buildings are just the same size as an industrial plant or so on, and there can be ways that can impact stormwater. Although from an agricultural standpoint, we look at it and say we would have far more beneficial impacts to stormwater than we'd ever have anything that contributes to what a municipality has to pay. So this is something that is still very much ongoing, very much an ongoing topic. As you can see, we talked about it in March, and we talked about it again in August, because there's several other municipalities that are starting to look at this as a way that could potentially be a detriment to agricultural operations. The other two topics you see in October, we talked about our wonderful provincial policy statement. Sorry, I guess it should have been provincial planning statement, I think I saw. And I won't spend any time on that. The other one is to look at expropriation. And again, one of the items associated with expropriation was how that can affect hydro transmission, or how hydro transmission corridors can use that expropriation act to gain their lands under an involuntary type of situation. The other two, as you can see, that we talked about is we heard from a farmer who lost some land or got impacted by the MTO widening road on his property. And then the other one is this significant situation, as you've heard, that's happening in Wilmot Township. How 770 acres of property was looked at to be purchased, and then expropriation happened, so on, by the regional water loop. That's still a very ongoing and open topic, but we tried to dig a little deeper into those and understand what type of aspects those have, and we know because the amount of land that continues to be lost from agriculture just seems to continue to grow. And so looking at how municipalities and other people affect this is going to be a topic for the future. And so we try to dive a little deeper and understand some of the details. Do I have any questions around PACS? Okay, thank you. If I can, sorry, Maaike, if you were going to come up and speak to scholarships.
Thank you, Brian. So we awarded 9 scholarships to well-deserving post-secondary students at our OFA regional meeting held in Wilkesford Community Center on August 22nd. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the scholarships. We would love to see more applicants to the scholarships. We have some great ones available. So I'm going to quickly run through them, and if you can think of anyone in your lives that could potentially apply for one, at the end there will be the information where the scholarships are being accepted and the process. So anyways, the first scholarship we awarded was a Joyce Anderson scholarship. It was $2,000. And Joyce Anderson was a representative of the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food working in Lambton County. She died at a relatively young age, and her family donated funds to the Sarnia Community Foundation to provide an annual scholarship to a second or third year student of any post-secondary program at a recognized post-secondary institution. This year's recipient was Sydney Goodrow from North Croton. Sydney is enrolled at Redeemer University for a 4-year English degree with a special focus on creative writing. Sydney has written a few young adult novels already and hopes to be published one day. The second scholarship is the Bill and Dorothy Abraham Scholarship, which was for $1,000. Bill Abraham was a longtime agriculture representative of the Ministry of Agriculture and Food. He and his wife, Dorothy, made their home in Petrolia and raised their family there. The scholarship is in their honor and goes to a student from Lambton County who is enrolled first year of a diploma or degree program in agriculture at a recognized post-secondary institution. This year's recipient was Pavla Garretts from Petrolia. Pavla is enrolled at the University of Guelph for a 4-year animal biology degree. Pavla is planning on going to the Ontario Veterinary College to continue on to become a veterinarian. Next, the Patrick and Timothy Kerrigan Scholarship for $1,000. The Kerrigan Scholarship was started in 1988 with funding replenished in 2021 upon the passing of Tim. It is awarded to a student enrolled in the second or more year of college or the third or more year of university in any post-secondary program at a recognized post-secondary institution in Ontario. The Kerrigan brothers lived near Reese's Corners, and they decided to set up a scholarship to be administered by the Lambton Federation of Agriculture because they were pleased with the assistance that they received from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture and the Lambton Federation of Agriculture in negotiating a settlement with the government at the time that 402 was being built and was limiting the access to all the farm properties. This year's recipient was Dana Robbins from Moortown. Dana is in year 2 towards a 4-year Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree at Lambton College. She hopes to become a registered nurse at a local facility. Next, we have the Bell Scholarships. And these scholarships are in honor of Mr. Bell, who was a farmer in Moore Township, who left funds in his will to set up a scholarship for Lambton County students and to be administered through the Lambton Federation of Agriculture. To qualify for the scholarships, students must be enrolled in a second or more year of program in agriculture. This year's first recipient was Samuel Thomas from Moortown, and Samuel is enrolled at the University of Guelph in Richtown for an associate diploma in agriculture and hopes to continue working in the agriculture sector or learn a trade. And the second recipient is Tim Bastianson from Thetford. Tim is enrolled at the University of Guelph in Richtown for an associate diploma in agriculture and hopes to take over the family's layer farm as well as get into some cash crop. Next, we have the Donna Stewartson Scholarship. And this scholarship is in honor of Donna, who was a longtime Federation of Agricultural Director and served on the Ontario Federation of Agriculture Executive Committee as Vice President. To qualify for this scholarship, the student is to be enrolled in the second or more of a year of any post-secondary program. This year's recipient was Nikki Boer from Warwick Township. Nikki is enrolled at McMaster University, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, in her 4th year. Nikki's hoping to work in a critical care setting, such as an emergency department, once she graduates and becomes a registered nurse. Nikki also was awarded the Louise Wakefield Scholarship in 2021. The Louise Wakefield Scholarship is a $1,000 scholarship, and it is in honor of LFA's former secretary-treasurer who served the Federation for 49 years. The scholarship is awarded to a student enrolled in the first year of any post-secondary program of 2 years or more in length. This year's recipient was Mallory Forbes from Sarnia. Mallory is enrolled at Western University for a 4-year psychology degree, and Mallory is hoping to continue her education to become an occupational therapist. Next, we got the Don McCabe Scholarship, which is $1,000, and a scholarship in honor of Mr. McCabe, who rose up through provincial organization to become the president of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. To qualify for this scholarship, the student must be enrolled in a 3rd or more year of any post-secondary program. A further criteria for a scholarship is to have been involved in 4-H programs in Lambton County with the completion of a minimum of 6 projects. And this year's recipient was Addison Griffin from Sarnia. Addison is enrolled in a 4-year kinesiology Bachelor of Arts program at Western University, and Addison is hoping to continue studies towards becoming a physiotherapist. And finally, the Lambton County Women's Institute Scholarship, also for $1,000. In 2021, the Lambton County Women's Institute entrusted the LFA with money to continue the scholarship in their name. This year's recipient was Tyler McGrill from Wyoming. Tyler is enrolled at the University of Guelph for the Justice and Legal Studies program with the hope of becoming a lawyer. And a little background to our scholarships. For the regular scholarships, applicants need to be from a family actively farming in Lambton County. And while you do not need to be an LFA or OFA member, it is required that you or parents or grandparents or guardian have a valid FBR number registered in Lambton County. And the deadline to apply for the scholarships is July 15th yearly. If you want any more information, all the information is available on our website. You can also reach out to any of us directors and we'll gladly provide you with any additional information you may need. All right, Brian, that was my little blurb on scholarships.
Thank you very much.
George, could I talk about the Farm Safety? While we're waiting for George to come up, I just want to talk to you a little bit about this wonderful little bucket that we've got sitting here. One of the items that we at LFA looked at a couple different events that we wanted to hold this year. Unfortunately, both had to be canceled because of lack of interest. And so we tried to target, see if there was something else that we could target to, to help extend our reach a little bit. And so what we decided to do is put together a safety bucket. This safety bucket, the value of it is about $45 a bucket. And what it contains is a nice clean suit. Set of earmuffs, so I don't know, I don't find many farmers that haven't got some amount of hearing loss, so maybe we'll help control some of this. Thanks very much, Mark, I appreciate it. Usually I'm the one that's saying that. Gloves, nice, and I always remember this, I'm going to pick on Sarah's dad, because he would always say the first thing you do is fold them over. So you make sure that the chemical doesn't run down your arm. Very, very intelligent man. Couple of dust masks, safety glasses, and the one item that we added, this is, I would absolutely encourage everybody to make sure they get some of these. This is a first aid kit, a small little first aid kit. Bandages, different sutures, there's a set of scissors in there and so on. But anyway, so on your way out, everyone please grab one. That's what we've got them all put together for you there. There is obviously the pail, and then there's also a lid for the pail. George.
Hello. First we've got a report in there so you can read what we've done. But I'll give you a little background on Lambton Farm Safety. It's not quite as old as Chamber of Commerce, but it originally was put together in the 60s, and then it died down, and in the 70s, Lambton Junior Farmers brought it forward, and the way they brought it forward was by bringing a representative from each commodity group and each council to work on farm safety. So we have a dwindling group. We would like to get back, if we could have representatives from all the commodity groups, that would be wonderful. We do have some of the councils have sent a rep, and we appreciate that. So some of the projects we've got coming forward, well, first up, our AGM is on February the 6th. It's at London Road West Church. That's at the corner of London Line and Telford and Sarnia. Our speaker there is Mike Otis, a fire prevention officer from Sarnia, and we're talking about all these batteries we're charging and where to store them and all that sort of stuff. So it's becoming, because they turned into a fire, it's a real mess. We do hope again this year to put forward our radio contest. In the past, it's been on CHOK. We haven't got that nailed down 100% yet, but that's our plan. It's usually on Canadian Farm Safety Week, which is in the middle of March. So at that point, every day they give out a tip, and you can email in, and the local businesses donate gift cards that we use as prizes for that. The end of March, on the 27th, we have our annual Farmer Information Night, which is held in conjunction with LFA. It's going to be held here. This year we have a lead agger is giving a presentation on what it takes to be WSPS
ready, which becomes very important because, as we know, we all have workers on our farms, and that's, we have to be compliant with things that go forward that way. And then we're also going to talk about some safety protocols. We've had some complaints, questions, I don't know how you want to put it, but people loading on the roads and whatnot. Sometimes we got to do that, but we have to be courteous, and we have to be careful, because the last thing we want is someone to get hurt. So we're going to get the OPP booked, and we're hoping that the farmers group's going to help us too. So then our big event is our Farm Safety Day, which last year was in Alvinston. We had around 350 total families and volunteers. It was a great success. This year it's going to be held at Bulgin Fairgrounds. So that's on July 3, I think. So hopefully we can keep, since we've gone to the family format, it has been very successful, where instead of dividing it, at the start of COVID, we didn't want to mix up kids again so that every kid got every disease. So we send families around, and it's actually working very well. That way the parents go around too, and sometimes they can learn some stuff too. So we have funding. Our biggest we run strictly by donations. Our biggest donators were LFA and Blue Water Power this year. We also get a donation from just about every municipality in Lambton County, and different businesses and associations also help. So that's how we run, and we have booked. You'll see the videos are playing over there. We've been able to have them at every fair and any event we get a chance to. We put them out there. And in February we're making some more, because we have some funding that will be going forward with that. So if anyone, I'd encourage anyone, if you want to come to our AGM, you can either email farmsafety@gmail.com or speak to myself or Agnes. In the room here we have some members of the association. There's Agnes, McEachran, Bryson Campbell, Don McCabe, Brad Langstaff, Harry Van Leeren. Sure if I'm missing anybody else. But if you got any questions, happy to talk to anybody.
Thanks very much, George. I guess I got stuff just a little bit out of order here, but to conduct the proper business of the meeting, I need to have someone to motion the approval of the agenda. Eric, can I get a second on that, please? Gary, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. In your package, those of you got a package, there was minutes from the 2024 meeting. If I can get, if there's any comments, questions about those minutes. And if hearing none, I guess I'd like to get a motion to approve those minutes.
Doug and Bert?
Yeah, Doug and Bert, sorry. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, good. Thanks very much. Karen, I think, why don't we go ahead and do elections now?
Okay, thank you, Brian. My name is Carrie McLean, and I'm the member service rep for Lambton and Middlesex counties. So my role is to work with our local federations and assist them with their outreach activities, as well as handle the any concerns with regards to farming and agriculture from members in those counties. So Brian has asked me to perform the elections for this year's upcoming board. So let's move out a bit here. So basically what is expected of the directors? So essentially, obviously, we'd like our directors to attend and participate in the meetings, and obviously review the correspondence ahead of time. We want people to support the vision of the Lambton Federation, become familiar with OFA and County Federation policies, and assist in the lobby activities and events to promote agriculture. And the last one, represent the County Federation at public meetings. So there's a number of directors that are on the board this past year and have put their name forward to stay on the board as well. So Brian's just updating that list. So at this time, I would like to have a motion to appoint scrutineers. So if Joanne, Sanderson, and who else would be able? Oh, the gentleman, yeah, from TV. If I could get a nomination to appoint them as scrutineers, if necessary. George, and seconder, Gary. Okay, and so at this point, the following people have let their names stand. So we've got Mike Bellin, who we met earlier this evening, George Dickenson, Cassandra Van Engelen, Maaike Campbell, Sarah Butler, Gary Martin, Brian Eves, Brad Langstaff, Bert McKinley, Fraser Beatty, Casey McGee, Harry Van Weeren, and that gives our board today. So we have to have a minimum of 8 directors and a maximum of 17. So at this point, I'll open the floor for any further nominations. Okay, second call for further nominations. Anyone interested in joining the board? And third and final call. So I will call the nominations closed, and we do not require a vote. So this is your board moving forward. Could I get a motion to release the scrutineers? Gary and Maaike? Yeah, I think that's it.
That the board has the ability to fill
Thanks for that, George. Good reminder. So the motion is to allow the board to appoint further directors throughout the year if necessary. Could I get so George motioned it. Could I get a seconder? Maaike? All in favor? Opposed? And carried. Okay, so thank you to those who let their names stand.
Joanne, would you like to come up and say a couple words for the Agricultural Hall thing?
So one thing I'd like to mention,
Yes, so I also work for Ontario Soil and Crops, so I just want to mention to those of you who do not have your environmental farm plan up to date, is I have opportunities here within the county on February 11th and 18th in Alvinston. I'm running one in Kent County on the 25th and March the 3rd. So take advantage of those opportunities. You need your certificate to access some of the cost share funding. And I'm here for until everybody else, if anybody has any questions, I'm just over to the side and my card is there that you're welcome to take. My main thing I really want to talk to you about today is about the Lambton Agricultural Hall of Fame. We've been running now since 2010. I'm the chair. I have Debbie Cope here, and she's a trustee, and Dave Ferguson is also on our board. And we're looking for nominations to the Hall of Fame. And what we're doing is we're recognizing and honoring those who made a significant contribution to agriculture and their community within the borders of Lambton County and beyond. And we have, last year we had our 28 inductees into the Hall of Fame. And the one thing I want to share with you here, and I try not to drop it, try not to drop it, in each of the fair buildings in Lambton County, all 5 of them, is we have these plaques. And I really encourage you, if you're in the fair buildings, to hunt them down, find them, and see who's on that plaque. We have an extraordinary amount of leadership in this county, and we're only at the tip of the iceberg. We're looking for nominations are due March 31st. And we're hoping to select our next inductees into the Hall of Fame, and we would welcome everyone to attend or find out when we're having our induction ceremonies and attend and learn about what a great number of leaders we have in our community. So I'm back here. We also are looking for members. It's a $25 membership. That's a lifetime membership, and for associations, it's $100. And we're basically living off memberships and donations, so we really appreciate any support that you can give us. And yes, so we're here, talk to Debbie, talk to Dave, and talk to myself. So thanks for the time.
Thanks very much, Joanne. I'm just going to kind of quickly skip through the last couple slides, just to so I can not get us out of here a little bit decent time. A little bit of information, I guess, about LFA. You know, we do meet every month. I said earlier that we did organize a couple events this year that didn't come off of the way we had hoped. But we are actively looking to plan a bus trip in June. That's an event that we've planned a couple times in the past, or multiple times, I should say. And has been really worked well for us, so we're going to go forward with that. Thanks to the announcement that we heard today, we're definitely going to be planning an all candidates night in the extremely near future, and sounds like that we might even get a chance to have a federal one as well in the near future too. It's something that we took on that was a little different event I was involved with, was the career night at the PE Given School. That was actually a really good event. I will honestly say that when I went to it, I wasn't exactly sure how that was going to turn out. Extremely surprised, extremely happy with the amount of interest, the amount of people, the amount of children that were, I was busy talking to people for almost 3 hours that night. That's really great to see the kind of interest in agriculture. We do attend the farm shows. We're going to go see Giant Farm Show next week, and then we'll also be in London the 1st of March. Participate with Lamp Soil Crop, and then we became I guess you call it a corporate sponsor. I think it was. I guess that'd be what we call ourselves now with the 4-H, and we participated with their chili cook-off and their rally night last year. Excellent events. So we're very happy to sponsor 4-H. A couple of key issues. I know we've talked about all this already. I don't think I need to hit any more of this, but if you've got interest or questions, I should say, if there's something that's pressing, please reach out. I'll be here for a while, obviously any of the directors and so on and so forth. Locally, Lambton is a map. We actually have printed copies. If anybody wants one, I'm sure there's a few floating around someplace, but the idea of Locally Lambton was to try and showcase agricultural type industries and farmers market, etc. in Lambton. Give you the ability to try and track those down, patronize them, and how to advocate a little more for agriculture in Lambton. Unfortunately, most of us don't use paper maps. We prefer to look at these electronic things now. So we do have locallylambton.com that is kept up to date, and all that map information and details are all there. Encourage you to access and review that. It's a great place to find out that information. Hansa Table. This is an event that we partner with the Chamber of Commerce, but also with Middlesex County, and to showcase a couple industries that you know, both of these are restaurants that source their products right from here locally, and then we'll showcase those products in a menu. So it's very easy for that consumer that comes into that restaurant to, yes, this product was sourced at this farm. This is exactly where it came from, and it you know, it really tries to accentuate that connection between that stuff that we eat and how it got produced. It didn't come off the supermarket shelf. And so that's, I've got a couple videos that I'll show here at the end of the night. But what we've done is partner with these other people to showcase that and then produce these videos so they can, and there's radio ads and so on. I think I've talked about everything I need to talk about. Crispin, I think it's we're at the point maybe we can have an update from you with it.
Thank you, Brian. Just give a quick update of what the OFA has done for the past year. As much as anything, this should justify Warden Marriott and Mayor Ferguson's PR money that they produce to the OFA. We've done some cultivating local workshops, and there are a lot of these workshops. That's the next slide. Sorry. A lot of these workshops are available to members. If you just go to the LFA website and check it out, some of them have happened, but there's a whole range of them going on continually. So if there are any of these local workshops that you're interested in, check the OFA website and you'll see them there. Our government relations, things have changed considerably in the last 24 hours. Everything's up in the air now with the election date of February 27th. So we did have an advocacy day set for March. However, I think at this point, because of the election and when the government gets back to work, we're probably looking at either September or October. And we generally go to Queen's Park at least once a year to advocate on a number of issues, whether it's carbon tax, land preservation, etc. Zone 6, which is Lambton and Middlesex, have been pretty active. Fanshawe College, Middlesex County did a culinary tour with them, taking them to those places listed. The Ontario Pork and Egg Farmers, we had speakers at lunchtime, talk to the students. What this does is let them see where the food comes from. Culinary students do wonderful things with what they have, but they don't know where it comes from, they don't know how it's produced. So they always find this to be a really fascinating day. The successful Farm Safety Day that Brian talked about a little while ago in Lambton County was a wonderful day as well. Karen and I have attended a number of activities, various production and commodity meetings in Lambton and Middlesex, support the dairy associations, for example. That one picture down at the bottom is the customer appreciation held at TV Mart, and I have to admit that it was a very disappointing announcement to hear about TV Mart and some of the closings that they're doing, including the Sarnia store. That's truly a disappointment. Brian talked briefly about the hydro corridors. St. Thomas line, that route's been selected, so that doesn't really impact a lot of people anymore. The St. Thomas line actually only impacts about 38 farms.
So it's pretty straightforward in some ways, and it doesn't change the fact that there are still creation possibilities and that there's still negotiations ongoing between the landowners and Hydro One in terms of compensation. The Longwoods to Lakeshore line, Brian talked about a little bit about, and he's by far and away more knowledgeable on this file than I. Carbon storage is the next thing. I understand there was a meeting this past week in Toronto. I was not aware of it, but probably with different people because the Roma conference was there, so I imagine it was some of the municipal politicians that were in attendance. But Enbridge and Esso are going to be doing test storage under Lake Erie. It's been approved by the government. There's still some concerns about the safety aspect of it, especially because the Great Lakes are our water supply for many areas. Enbridge has said that they are not going to use any existing wells. They could have, but they're not going to. But they're going to do a new storage space in the rock. Carbon storage is currently done in places such as Alberta, Norway, and Australia, and a couple of the U.S. states. Norway and Australia store it in the rock under the ocean, but none, to my knowledge, have been stored in areas where there's drinking water and may be impacted there. So that's the biggest concern in that sense. In terms of capital gains, the changes that the government brought forward on the capital gains have not been passed. When the budget got passed, the regulation affecting the capital gains changes did not. Now, CRA, for example, is acting as though it's in force. All the forms that Canada Revenue Agency have, if you're selling a farm or actively using your capital gains, will reflect the legislation as it was proposed. However, this may all fall apart with an election. So my advice is talk to an accountant if you're doing anything involving the capital gains exemption. The railways that Brian had up on a little while ago, the federal government put $45 million into improving safety nationally. One of the issues that continues to fester is the Drainage Act and the railways. The railways refuse to recognize the Ontario Drainage Act. Ontario is the only province that has a Drainage Act. They claim they're under federal jurisdiction and therefore don't need to follow the Drainage Act. The Municipality of Chatham-Kent has started a suit against CP Rail, and OFA's an intervenor status has status at that hearing, so we'll be making a presentation at that hearing as well. Farm crossing upgrades. At one time, the railways were going to impose regulations that meant that all farm crossings had to be upgraded to meet their standards. This proved to be a real contentious issue with all the farms, especially out west, that have railways that go through them where the farmers are going from one field to another. The railways have since come back and said that all private crossings that are on farms, in other words, if you're going from field to field only, have been deemed as acceptable, and so there will be no extra cost. But that's what's it at this time. So at this point in time, the railway crossing on a farm is deemed to be acceptable. A couple of bills I want to refer to, Bill C-293, which is the Pandemic Preparedness Act. The biggest concern with this bill, and we haven't been able to see any movement in terms of changes to it, is that it doesn't define what a high-risk species is. So the problem with that is that the AI, the avian influenza that dairy cows are now getting, in theory, dairy cattle could be listed as a high-risk species, and therefore you either call them, you get rid of them, whatever. But the definition is simply not there, and that's the concern with this bill, among others. The next bill, Bill C-234, is the carbon tax bill. I know you all probably know as much about it or more than I do. It's past third reading at this point, and the only way this is probably going to get changed is if there's a change in government. That's my opinion. I don't see any other changes. Anything that's been proposed, whether at the Senate or in the House, has not been successful. This slide is a legislative update from CFA, and the thing with this that changes now is that all the bills that have not reached royal assent will die on the order paper if an election is called. So it could be reintroduced and go through the legislative process again, and if the government, if the Liberals, for example, were to form the government again, they could actually bring some of them back exactly the way they are now and move them through a lot quicker. But right now, anything that does not have royal assent may risk falling off the table altogether.
And the last slide I have is just making wellness matter. It's just a reminder, we just had Bell Let's Talk Day this week, reminding you that, you know, it's okay not to be okay. And this service is available to farm families and their employees. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I'll stick around for a while afterwards as well.
Thanks, Crispin. Guess I just had a couple more slides about some of the other items. I think we've talked about the majority of them. I don't think anything up there that we didn't speak about. A couple changes here in the fact that we've had a monthly radio spot for quite a few years now. We're going to change that slightly here in 2025 and expand it with 3 more radio stations to try and get a reach out a little further. Nywening, the LFA website is always a good source of information, and of course we try to update as much as we can of the social media channels. I think I've talked about farm show. George spoke about the farm safety on farm show, about that. So. Karen spoke with us a little earlier about joining the board. As we made the motion there, we do have open spots available for directors. Do realize that maybe some people just don't want to take on the role of the director. Happy to always have someone come on and sit on our board just attend a meeting. Probably about half to 2/3 of our meetings every year are virtual, so you can always join the meeting just to view and see what things are like and what we talk about, how we manage. I guess the only other topic was my own message. I'm not going to go through it in detail. It's part of your package. Unless anybody's got any questions, that gets to the end of our program. And so the kind of last thing on the agenda, I guess, is to open the floor for any new business. And the other thing that we would always encourage is new business and resolutions. Anybody's got something on their mind that we think we should take to the OFA. We do traditionally look at resolutions every fall at our AGM, but resolution gets submitted all through the year. And you can obviously talk to any one of the directors, speak to myself. We're happy to take resolutions and help you through creating a resolution if necessary, etc. So I'll open the floor to any new business. Everybody just wants to go home to finish pie. Mr. McKee.
Can't let you off the hook that easy.
Well, it'd be nice if you did, but I'll let you go ahead.
It's a softball, drive the other part.
Okay.
What's the LFA's thoughts on the issue of Lambton generating former site being revitalized, and with the message that came from Mr. Lecce at the chamber breakfast, it would be a heavy emphasis on the word nuclear.
17 times, if I remember correctly.
Correct. So, where do you guys stand?
I can't say that. I can't give a comment on that, Don, from the board, because we haven't spoken with it as a board. I will say from our board's perspective, my own perspective, at least if it's there, it's not farmland. It's pre-existing industrial lands. It's sitting empty. And I can think of a lot worse uses of that ground. And while we all know it'll never come back to farmland, never come back to production, at least we're not taking more land out of production to do something. I have a hard time sitting up here and saying that I want to promote nuclear, but there's a lot of things that I'd rather see nuclear than some of the other alternatives. But from the LFA's perspective, at least I'm gonna say that it's a good use or potentially a good use of land that's sitting idle, not functioning, and not able to be farmed anymore.
Sorry, I'm just gonna bounce off of this idea and kind of just make a suggestion that maybe that your committee should look at, like the board should look at what the impact of storage if it is a nuclear facility, what that would, how that would.
You're thinking about spent fuel, other low grade nuclear waste, etc. I agree 100%. There's a lot of unanswered questions there, and of course the biggest unanswered question is it ever going to get there? But I didn't live under a rock. And as I said, we were counting the number of times nuclear got mentioned by Mr. Lecce. So yeah, I understand, and it's certainly, I guess I'll say in general, it's just what's next. Yeah, I see another hand. Yes, sir.
Yeah, does anybody have any information that's current on the whiskey plant, on the Campbell oil plant? I know grain growers had a nice presentation. Enjoyed that.
I guess I'll say anything outside of that, the answer is no. I mean, the only official information I have is what's been public for several months. I'm not interested in putting anybody from St. Clair Township here on the spot. You've got a comment?
Yeah, it's rather simple. At this point in time, there's no additional information beyond what's been provided publicly that the company, due to their assessment of global demands, operational efficiencies, currently has the project on hold. That doesn't mean the project is dead. Any reasons as to why they made this decision is purely speculation at this point in time. But they have said they are seeking to retain the land, and so I hope that that's something that we can take as an extreme positive.
Redeem the land as in what?
They're retaining the land.
Oh, retain the land, sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Anything further? I guess otherwise, can I get a motion to adjourn? George?
Is that Casey?
I see Casey? Yeah. There he is, Casey. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried. I thank you all for coming out. I'm going to play the Hanson Table videos here, and please ensure you pick up a bucket on your way up. I appreciate you all coming and appreciate your attention. Thank you.